6:30 p.m. Eastern. Shelby's World Live taking off. Questions will be answered cause the queen get it off. Unity is for the black and brown community. Conversation without scrutiny. Hey, we speak from a place of power, no coward. We just making sure the truth isn't overpowered. Black goddess, black queen, no in between. Radio podcast to the big screen. Her smile is everything, can light up a room. She say what she means, that's why we're in tune. Grown woman handles her biz like it is. Discipline, a role model for the kids. Nothing was given, everything she earned. She sat back and learned, and now it's her turn. So stop on by, comment, subscribe. Each and every Wednesday, SW Live.
Shelby's World Podcast.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? How y'all doing? Welcome back to SW Live. We are in the building. It is Wednesday, October 15th, and welcome. We almost at the end of Libra season. I'm a little happy about it. I'm gonna be much happier about it after my daughter's birthday this Friday and my nephew's birthday passes. All the last little bit of Libras, I gotta get through it. Yes, y'all just come on, take y'all turn and let's move on. It's time because y'all done showed out all damn season. That's what y'all did. And I love it. You know, I love to watch it. I'm going to support it and all that good stuff. But y'all showed out all season. All right. That's what they did. They did do that. But welcome back. Welcome back. We got a guest today. I told y'all we was going to have a guest this week. And we got Mick in the house. And he going to come and talk to y'all about Black men's emotions because I'm a Black woman. I only can tell y'all what I've experienced dealing with a Black man's emotions, but I can't tell y'all about a Black man's emotions. I can tell you about why a lot of Black men suffer for lack of growth in their emotions because of things that they've dealt with, some certain traumas and things. I can't really. I'm like this. I'm on the Libra scale with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know enough. I can learn a whole lot more. It's you know, I can only speak from womanhood as a Black woman. So we got somebody on here, our resident guest, who always comes to drop bombs and good information. So that's what we're expecting to be today. I already done called him two names. And one of my intros in my summary of him today, when I introduced him in my synopsis, I did say it's like three names would be. It's Brandon, B, and Mick. So it just depends on what you're feeling when you're saying what you need to say to him. So I'm gonna bring him on, and he's gonna jump into our quote, and then we're gonna jump into the show because this is something I've been waiting to talk about. So let's do it. Welcome to the stage, B. What's up? Can you hear me?
I can hear you echoing in and out.
Okay, hold on one second. Okay.
What up?
What's up? What's up? How you doing, B?
I can hear you fine. I'm good. What's up, y'all?
Listen, welcome back.
Indeed.
How you been feeling?
I've been well, man. You know, just trying to take life one day at a time and, you know, handle my business.
Okay.
But I'm happy to be home.
Well, you know, you always welcome over here, B. It's always a spot here. That's what being the resident guest is. That's like a family member over here. So, you know, welcome back. I'm always happy to see you. We got a good topic today, B. You know, we got something that we're going to talk about today that it's going to go in depth, and it kind of touches on spots that people don't want to talk about. And things that we do need to expound upon in our community. So we're going to jump into it, but I'm going to drop this quote real quick.
Okay.
The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. What'd you think about that quote?
I think that's a powerful quote and it's impactful. I mean, in that small paragraph, it speaks volumes. It's like, in this life, no doubt you're going to fall. And, a lot of times we may fall more than we want to, but it's about really how many times you can get back up and keep, what I'm saying, marching on. So, it definitely spoke volumes.
Yes, definitely. And it is glory in knowing that you triumphed through something that was meant to break you. You know what I'm saying? It's glory in that. It's always a feeling of like aspiration to keep going, motivation to
Yeah,
give it to other people so they can keep going, and just a constant way to remind you that, again, no matter how hard it get, keep going. Because what is a lot of our time on this planet is going to be about how you sustain and how you keep moving even when you have barriers. So I think the
right.
quote is definitely very valuable.
Yep. It speaks
Definitely.
volumes.
Yes. And that's by the late great Mr. Nelson Mandela. Gonna give him his flowers for what he did do for his people when he was here. And we're
Indeed.
gonna move on. We're gonna move on. If anybody in the listening audience have something they want to say about the quote, definitely drop it in the comment or whatever, and we'll and I'll respond to it or whatever. But I want to go ahead and jump into the show. I want to do that. So I'm ready to talk about. So when I first came up with this topic, I said men don't deal with their emotions as my first thought. They kind of more so bottle them up. But then I remember this was going on in generations before our generation, and our generation kind of took on that same plausibility of men not speaking their mind, men not showing their emotion, men holding it in. And but these days, young men are not holding back in certain areas. Um, they will share and display most of some of their emotions, but that was just a thought of maybe that's probably like 20% of black men that may do that are learning to get their head out into the field, because it's black men that are healed and they're talking about it and they're doing some stuff. Hey Jay. But men in general aren't really raised on how to process, how to feel, how to reduce anger while dealing with their emotions. More and more times, men are just raised to be strong people, to have the backbone of the family, to be able to sustain a lot, take a lot. And more men are hurting their partners, themselves, and even their families because they lack the ability to deal with their emotions. B, what do you think is a reason why black men mask their emotions as a black man?
Um, I believe for most black men, they've been kind of taught and trained over time to kind of be strong and kind of be able to mask your emotions. As you grow as a man, it's almost seem part of your manhood. Like you're gonna go through stuff. A man deals with hard times. That's just part of being a man. Um, but I think as we kind of evolve and we get more information just on just life in general, I feel like more men are understanding that the reason why a lot of separations take place, or a lot of reasons why our counterparts are upset, is because um, we're not able to show that level of vulnerability to where we can feel safe to. Um, but I think with time going by, I think men are being able to recognize that and being able to express that and still um, be fully like masculine and and who they are and in their endeavors. You know, um, that's basically kind of how I feel about it. I can't speak for all black men, but I know a lot of black men, especially in America, we deal with a lot of trauma, a lot of unspoken trauma, a lot of stuff that you know just through life we suppress. But then on the back end, these things that we suppress cause it cause health issues. Physically. I mean, you it cause psychological issues. It cause for some people financial issues, um, and it cause issues. Within your social environment. So I think it's something that over time definitely needs to be you know able to be addressed.
With the fact that it is now being addressed more because like you said, it's people talking about it now. They're saying men have anger issues. Men don't know how to control their emotions. They're more emotional than women sometimes. And I don't I don't look at it as if how your emotions are displayed describes who you were raised by, how you were raised. What I do think about it is, even if you were raised in a two-parent household, if you're not taught how to handle frustrations and emotions, it don't matter who was teaching you. Somebody, you're missing it. You're missing out on that skill, and that's just something we have to have. And I was looking at some statistics, and one of the areas that black men often deal with their emotions through a combination of societal expectations, racial discrimination, financial pressures, as you stated, and the pressures to appear strong all the time, as you stated as well. Depression, anxiety, PTSD, and unresolved trauma are also issues that black men face. However, those only come out when that frontal lobe that I just described first, that societal expectation, that racial expectation, that financial pressure, when those come out more when they're going through other issues. That's what makes them snap. If I'm going through an issue where somebody discriminated against me and they don't pull a gun on me and I'm a black man, of course now this anger that may be built up inside of me may come out right now. If I'm going through societal issues, stuff might happen. So do you believe in the demographic that what goes on around you could cause you to lose track of your emotions? And if you've been in a situation that has allowed you to have your emotions come out in a place where you were supposed to be in more control?
Um, on one part, I could say how you were raised, not necessarily so your environment, but how you were raised definitely has a lot to do um, with how you process your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of times, even when we were young, a lot of times in the black community, when you got out of control, your form of punishment because whomever was watching you, whether it was your mother, your father, grandma, grandfather, they resorted to most of the times in the black community, you know, giving ass whoopings. So, that right there alone, it creates a trauma and really creates a behavior. You know what I'm saying? That once you have kids or once you in that situation, you don't know um, how to really process your anger. You know what I'm saying? And though we all get aggravated, and though we all, get to a point where we all get fed up, I think as the older that you get, you should be able to recognize what some of your triggers and some of your anger points come from and kind of work on it, especially when you're around the people you love. Now, as far as in the black community, I think that's just like unresolved anger, unresolved, bottled up emotions. And sometimes, you know, those two things clash. Sometimes you have people that move in a survival state of mind, and sometimes you have people that move more in a endearing love state of mind. And sometimes how you were brought up, it kind of affects how you process and deal with your anger.
Hmm.
You know, what was the other part of your question?
Have you ever had to deal with a situation in the public where your emotions, like where you didn't have control of your emotions?
Well, I think everybody probably had some type of episode um, where they kind of let the anger get the best of them. But for me, I can say I have. I wasn't really proud of the situation, and I I let my anger get the best of me in moments where I'm usually cool, calm, and collected. Um, and more could have transpired from it, but I guess that's not that that wasn't what was meant to happen. There's been
Right.
times where I've been frustrated and I've had a conversation with the cops, and uh, one thing led to another. But with me being so frustrated, so I guess uh, so about my point and understanding, thinking I understood citations in the law and really understanding that shit, you just a, a young male who still got a lot of learning to grow, like a lot of learning to do. So one thing, a ticket turned into something bigger, all because of me and my anger. So it's been moments, but I've been trying to, work on those things. I think it's all growing pains though.
Yeah. You can catch somebody at a wrong time of the day too if something doesn't happen, and things like that do transpire because of that. But today we definitely want to talk about how we can get around that happening and at least point out the reasons why you may have those triggers. We got a question that says, could it also be the mere fact that society has taught boys not to cry or show emotions, but now in relationships they are asked to show them? And that's very, very key. They are told that you're not supposed to be this way. Men don't do this, boys don't do this, men don't do this. But you told that a lot. And then now when you get into your relationships or you have these relationships with women, they're wanting you to show your emotions. They're wanting you to show how you feel about them and not hold it back and be more expressive. And how does a person who's got the emotions beat out of them revert to having to do it in a relationship? How does that happen?
So I do think that a lot of that, like the viewer said, a lot of that is society. I mean, it's in the music. For the longest, right or wrong, some of the music that I grew up to and some of the music that kind of came out since I've been on this earth. At a certain age, it was telling me to be emotionless. When it comes
Hmm.
to relationships, it was telling me to move a certain type of way. It was telling me to expect this from uh, from women. And I as I get older, I realized it was all part of a bigger system. You know what I'm saying? They kind of separate, especially in the black community, black love between the men and the women. But these are some of the things that I was taught, and some of the things that a lot of these young kids today are taught. You know, not
Mm-hmm.
really understanding
Mm-hmm.
that you can't really give all your information to everybody, but you should be able to be open enough to be truthful and honest with whomever you're dealing with, especially if you're in a relationship. And I think that's the biggest thing, feeling comfortable as a man, um, that when you're with your partner, when you're with your lady, your wife, your girlfriend, um, that she provides a safe space for you to be able to, decompress and really process some of your emotions without you being angry. And even if you are dealing with it, she's, you know what I'm saying, she understands to let you know it's another way that you can go about that.
Right,
If
right.
you lacking that, but also the information that I may provide to you, I want to know that it won't be thrown in my face, you
Correct.
know, when we're in a heated moment.
That's
And
right.
I think that's the biggest thing for men, you know, because we deal with a lot.
That's
We
right.
deal, as soon as we walk out this door every day, uh, from wherever we go, we got the world on our back. You know what I'm saying? We already know we got a target on our back. So we already have to be in a stoic mindset. You know what I'm saying? And there ain't no room for slippers. And you
Mm-mm.
always kind of got to be on point. And that with that, you there's no room for emotions. But you still deal with the everyday, you know, tasks and things that you have to do as a man in this society. And so, at the end of the day, you want to be able to come home and be with somebody that allows you to, what I'm saying, be able to, decompress that. Because, the older you get, you don't want to be taking all that bravado with you everywhere. You don't
No.
want to bring it in the house. Like, in the house, there it should be already understood, you know, that a man is a man and a man gonna be a man. So you don't have to bring your bravado in the house. That should be it. Your house, your home should be a safe place where, what I'm saying, you can be yourself, what I'm saying, and you can be able to
Absolutely.
communicate about whatever you got going on, and without being criticized. You know what I'm saying? Or thinking somebody don't take it serious. And I ain't saying come home and tell all your business and everything, because everybody has information that they just want to keep to themselves. That's men and women, but be able to talk about what's going on and be with somebody that's gonna help you find a solution to it. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying?
That's right.
So
That's right. Good. That's good, B. That was good. Good spill. Real spill. That was good right there, though, B, for real. Because everything that you said were key elements in the fact that men face so many outside barriers already, and who want to have to do all that when they come home. And like you just said, don't have to bring the bravado in the house. This was a good comment right here. Yes, do not bring up what has been revealed, and now he feels uncomfortable to share that again. And that's true. Anytime, and that's man nor woman, but because women tend to forgive and come back and say, they'll just, once they go through their forgiveness stage, they'll go back to talking to you sometime like they used to talk to you before the fallout. But men, that's not happening.
mm-mm,
If they felt comfortable enough to open up to you and share with you what they feel, and you bring that up and throw it in their face, you're not getting any more sharing.
no.
Now I
Every
gotta go.
time, every time that takes place, that's one less thing that I feel like
Yep.
I could bring to you.
Right. Especially in those circumstances, because sometimes people will give a chance, like, okay, that happened when I told her about this, maybe because she just feels strongly about my family. But then you bring it to her about something financial, you bring it to her about something about your job, and it keeps happening. He's no longer trusting that. And now you've broken this bond between you and your man when it comes to that type of stuff. Because dealing with accountability already is hard for a lot of people, but not just dealing with the accountability. a person is trusting you with the accountability because they're coming to tell you what is going on with them. They're trusting you to come and be free and open with you, and then it's been made them feel like, nah.
It's one less thing that I'm gonna bring to you because I've already been conditioned to hold whatever I got going on in anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm already conditioned like that, it's easy for me to get back in that mode, and I won't tell you nothing, And then here go the problem on the flip end. Now I don't want to communicate about
Lack
nothing.
of
Now I
communication.
don't want to
Not
be
a
open about
relationship.
nothing.
Right, right. Not a relationship
So it's like,
struggling.
right, because I won't open up and really let you know what's going on. I just deal with it how I deal with it because for most men, they deal with their problems. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time by themselves. They don't want to inconvenience people. Most men rather be in a position to take care of everything and not have you worried about things. So we hold a
Right,
lot of stuff in anyway. So the fact that if we feel comfortable enough to um talk to you about something, you know what I'm saying, about a situation. Like it does have significance, and we don't want to have it thrown in our face. We bringing it to you because we trusting you as whatever union that we got going on. Not
right.
saying it has to be a union of marriage, but just whatever union, whatever bond we got going on. And I'm trusting you, and I'm being transparent with you to let you know what's going on, so that maybe you can give me some insight, or maybe you can hear me out. Or
Just hear
sometimes,
me
even
out.
if I don't want to talk about it, just understand that I'm processing it and I don't want to burden you. Because a lot of
Right.
men don't want to burden, women with their own, women have their own stuff going on. But a
But
man
that's
don't
what
want
we're
to really go ahead.
but that's what we want to change. We want to change the thought of the burden, because even if you've gotten to a point where you already know you can lean on your person, and they good enough, you trust them and all that, still men still have that psychological thought that I have to be the strong person, I have to be this, I have to be that. So when to release the burden of not, because that, to me, if you're not dealing with it, if you're holding on to it still, you're still building up your trauma, you're still not dealing with it, you're still not
Yeah.
releasing yourself of the things that you need to release. That means you still have no emotional control. You're holding hostage your emotions, and there are other ways to deal with your emotions instead of holding them hostage. Is even if you don't know how to release them into a person, you have to release them into the atmosphere. Certain way, that anger, that the instability, the lack of control feeling. So what I wanted to say is there are things that can be damaging in how we deal with our emotions. There are things that can be a trigger in how we deal with our emotions. But from a man's point of view, because as a woman, I take full ownership of how I respond.
Hmm.
That's why I think a whole lot now. You know what I'm saying? And it took wisdom to get there. I had to keep living it out to understand that this is the way I need to do this. It wasn't just a first, I was raised to sit there and process.
Right.
So now I process. And some things I could just answer right off, and just go, because I already know the answer to that based on the way the question is presented and blah blah blah. But there are other times I may need to sit and think about and process how I'm going to respond to something that affected my mental or affected the way I'm thinking. And we are living in a world where our black men lack the inability to process anger, and it leads to family dysfunction. It creates partner issues. We got a lot of black men in prison because they lack the ability to control themselves. Most of them in there from one act of something that may have happened in the split of a second.
Hmm.
But had they responded differently, they could have avoided the whole situation. So
Yeah.
when we're talking about this, we're learning that even when even when a man tells his woman that he lacks control in certain areas, and she's calling it out so that she can help y'all can focus on it, so she can let you know when it's happening, so you can see how it's happening, at what spewed it, at what made it come up. Nobody likes to be called out. How can you help if you don't want to be heard in the moment? You only want to be heard when you tell how you have this issue, but not when somebody says, well, let's work on this issue.
Um. So in situations like that, I think for each individual man that's dealing with that, I mean, one, you got to kind of recognize and listen to what's being said, and innately, we kind of know some of our issues and what we need to work on. But two is recognizing that and seeing the bigger picture and being accountable with it. And now, once you be accountable with it, I mean, you really recognize what's going on. Once you recognize what's going on, it's on the individual to make the decision that they're going to create the necessary change, you know, and uh, it's the situation and who you're building with and saying, you know, are they right? A lot of people don't like to when a person is wrong, but I think that's one way for, you know, create a healthy relationship, but I think that also definitely goes, and I know this is about black men, but definitely goes both ways, accountability is the biggest thing, recognizing those actions, even if it's being called out. But now
Right.
once it's being called out, and for a black man, specifically on any man, once it's called out, allow that man to recognize that and 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 go about creating the action that's necessary, because you know, is one thing to call out, two things to say, hey, you're doing this again, but it's another call it out every time, because like at some point you got to allow the person to go and process and do the change that's necessary. I
That's what
think
I wanted
also
to
for
hear too.
men, if it's, yeah, I mean, because, it's a process. So with it being a process, it's not going to happen.
Oh, B done fell off, y'all. I'm gonna wait till he come back on. But yes, it is a process. There, you cannot just expect the person to show that they learn something about themselves and it goes into action or change immediately. He's definitely on point with that. You cannot expect them to just change immediately. It doesn't happen overnight. Give them that time, as he was saying, give them that time to change. You give them that time to start implementing those things themselves. You can't just constantly remind somebody of what they've noticed about themselves. Give them that time. And I definitely agree with that. Welcome back, B.
Appreciate
it. So yeah, that's what I was looking to hear. I wanted to hear exactly that. Give that person time. Because we expect miracles immediately just because we've been saw it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We expect, just because we saw it, and they got to jump into action. And that's not the way it happens, especially if people have been this way their whole lives. You got to get them time to kind of adjust to the new norm of them seeing that this is an issue. I've caused this issue in my life. Because guess what normally happens when a person sees something and they figure it out? Now they starting to sit there and think about things that situation, that action may have jeopardized a job, may have jeopardized family, may have jeopardized commitments,
Yep.
community, all kinds of things now because you didn't know how to deal with your emotions at the time. So, we're going to break down some barriers. There is significant research and statistical data documenting that Black men lack sufficient access to quality mental health services that will get them through that trauma, because sometimes you got to go through, you got to beat that unresolved trauma. Sometimes you really do. It's, and you know, we do think that we could immediately just heal ourselves. That's not always the case. We got to talk to somebody sometime, you know. But a lot of times we do. Ultimately, we learn, and then we are able to implement things that we've learned into our growth process. So in order to break down those barriers, you have those open conversations, which encourage honest discussions about mental health, emotions, giving your man that space and giving him time to go and find that space for himself too, not trying to be so involved in how he heals. Just let him do it. You can give people that guidance and point them into the direction of where healing can happen, but you cannot be that guide in a person's healing. You cannot, not in a relationship. You cannot. You cannot. You really have to allow them to have their own therapist, their own person, their own, if they go to a life coach, their own life coach. You got to have your own circle when it comes to your healing too, not just your partner, because your partner is going to look at things from a partner's point of view at all costs, at all times. And then they'll sometimes bring their emotions into things that have, and it can't be that way when I'm trying to already learn how to deal with my own emotions. So it's ways that things like that have to be done. So we do have to have that open conversations, community support, give people resources so they can be guided into being able to do things and acknowledge those unspoken struggles and working to break down barriers. Black men will become way more, be able to thrive more in our communities. And that's what we looking for. We're looking for healthy Black men, so we can have healthy Black men teaching healthy Black children who are going to eventually become healthy Black men. So it's a process, and we cannot continue to allow unhealthy Black women and unhealthy Black men to be raising our children and putting out crap that's all right. So anywho, there are many specific tasks and skills that we can do to cultivate a very unbiased situation, and reminding a person that their personal beliefs and their personal strengths matter is a huge way to get men, have our partners be more open and less scared to show who they are to us in those type of situations. So I want to move on to the next part of the conversation that talks about how does a man assess and be, and anybody in the comments, so I want y'all to tell me this, because most of the men in the comments are Black men. Tell me how, as a Black man, you assess situations so that you can keep yourself away from it getting to a level where you gotta come out of who you normally are, your character. What's your determining factor and how you respond?
Really, at the end of the day, I mean, you know, when it comes to anger, it can happen at a snap of a finger. But ultimately, for me, I kind of go back to some of my principles that, what am what am I willing to do for certain things? What am I willing, I look at really, like, what is it worth, you know, you know, like, for me, since my father passed, I've been the man, to make sure that my sister and my mom's straight. So, and to make sure that, along with my nephew's father, along, for me to be a role model, also being involved in the community. So, I try to be proactive to think about all the stuff that I have going on, and what is it worth to me, you know what I'm saying, to allow my anger to get the best of me or get the best of the situation. And also really just some of the things I do, like meditation or really just having conversations with God, you know what I'm saying, and kind of just work on some of those things that in the past, um, I know probably affected me and affected people around me. And when it came to my anger, and at the end of the day, just depending on what am I being upset about, some
Right.
things do cause for you to be pissed the fuck off. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just
Mm-hmm.
real life. You can't get around that. And like I said, that come back to your principles, your morals, and your standards. Like what you will not allow, and you know what I'm saying, what you need to stand up for. You know what I'm saying? Because ultimately sometimes you being pissed off creates the necessary change that's needed, you
That's
know.
right.
But in regards to understanding my triggers as a black man, what what are my triggers? You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily having to tell everybody my triggers, but me understanding who I am as a man, as a black man, me actually being able to take time in isolation and doing the necessary shadow work that needs to be done to understand who I am, to understand how I got to, you know, where I'm at as a man and being accountable for shit that happened in the past, you know what I'm saying? Instead of being upset, because a lot of our frustrations, as black men come from past situations that we done had to suppress and we ain't had no choice but to get over. And we couldn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily talk about the shit. So we kind of kick the can along the road, down the road instead of really just forgiving ourselves for some of the past mistakes that we've been involved in, you know what I'm saying, and taking accountability for shit and trying to be a better human being. And with that comes, peace of mind and really understanding what battles need to be fought. Maybe that comes in time. I would hope it does come in time, but I think that's something that right now a lot of black men should really pay attention to. Like, because
Right.
a lot of this shit is not worth it. And really understand who your real enemies are and what they really want to do to you. Yes, you got to worry about uncivilized individuals doing uncivilized shit. So you always got to keep your head on the swivel. But at the end of the day, black man to black man, we really need to understand really what's going on and who your real enemies are, and
Yeah.
really be able to have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Nothing shouldn't be above a conversation, especially if ain't no blood being shed. But sometimes, that has to take place, but we never want that. Not right now. So.
We in being in an ever changing environment anyway, where it's ever changing for everybody else, but for the black populace, it stays the same. You don't want to ever put yourself in a situation that has absolutely nothing to do with you, for one, and absolutely something that you can avoid. And that's what the conversation is about today. How you know how to deal with, you'll know when you're triggered enough to go and get involved in something. You'll know what you're going to be triggered enough about. But being able to acknowledge what is triggering it is what we need to make sure we as a community continue to do. We need to see our issue, address our issue, fix our issue. And
Mm-hmm.
it sounds easy to say, again, like we said earlier, but once you see it and you address it, it's on the last thing left for you to do is to fix it. So you won't have any more, you can't run from it anymore after you see it and address it. But a person who
That's a
continues
fact.
to run, a person who continues to run from it is a person who doesn't want to fix it.
And that's where the problem lies, because right now we really not in a time for we're in a time for healing, if you ask me. So anybody that's, you know, has narcissistic personalities. Anybody that believes in playing games, in a time where games ain't really, it ain't no need for games to be played. Like if you
Right.
ain't on no empowering shit, trying to see the next individual like do better, like you on the wrong side. You're gonna be on the wrong side of history. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because really, it's about trying to do better. It's about trying to make sure that you be able to take care of your family, take care of yourself, and be able to provide and leave something. You know what I'm saying? And leave your mark and leave a legacy. And if you on anything other than that, you on the wrong side of history, man. So,
Well, it's a lot of people on the wrong side of history. There's a lot of people that are just literal bots here. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're not here to make anything better. They're not here to make anything worse. They're just here to help time pass. And that's just the way it is. It just depends on what your purpose is while you on this planet. But we know that statistically Black men do have struggles with a lot of these issues that lead them up to doing something that'll either hurt themselves, hurt somebody they love, or anything in regard to that. And one thing, when I told my daughter yesterday what the show was about, she was like, because one thing about you, you're going to be trying to help them Black men. And I was like, because that's just me in general when it comes to Black people. I'm not going to just get on here and speak for Black women. I got to make sure because we won. And we have to make sure that when we talking about the struggles of being a Black woman, we also incorporate the struggles of what it is to be a Black man. So it's not something that's going to be easily fixed. But I've also been somebody who's accepted the reality of what it is what it is right now. It's just not. A lot of things are not going to be fixed within the Black community because the Black community getting their ass beat for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't be the original people and forget about that you was the original people. So, if we getting our ass beat, and I just don't. I decided to accept that, still do my part while I'm here, but with the fact of acceptance that this is what it is. So, yeah. Let me see what this crazy man talking about. He done dropped 3 messages on him. First, he's a Mexican. Because I said the Black men in the comments. That's what that comment coming from. I'm looking for a wife. Can anybody point me in the right direction? Is there any nice women in this show I could take out? Dennis, don't come on here starting trash today. We miss you though, Dennis. Welcome back. That's a crazy man right now. Okay. Symptoms of a person. I'm gonna drop some things, some little trigger some little trigger symptoms, and I want you to tell me. This him all the time. This him all the time. But you ready? No B, I'm gonna drop some little things, and I want you to tell me if this could be a trigger or not a trigger. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about a Black man mama.
Trigger.
Why?
Because most Black men, if they've been around their mama, they understand some of the things that their mother had endured, and whether right or wrong, whether their mother was perfect in their eyes or imperfect in their eyes, the stuff that they probably understood and knew what their mother had to endure to make sure that they had clothes on their back or food on their table. It's just one of them things. That's one of them lines where you kind of got to walk light. You know what I'm saying? Like at a certain age in a certain grade, for a lot of us who got caught in telling jokes and cracking the mama jokes, you know what I'm saying, and fly. So
Yeah, the mama jokes ain't never fly.
Yeah.
That's a below the belt when you bring out the mama jokes.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a trigger. Okay, all right. Bringing up how much a Black man make.
Um, that's I guess that's all in the security of the black man. Though we understand that having money is a necessary thing, a necessary tool. Um, a secure black man is not defined by the money that he makes. So yeah, I guess it can be a trigger, but not for. I can't speak that on all black men because whether a black man has money or not, if he's securing himself, that shit don't move him. That doesn't take the value away of a black man.
That's right. That's right. Good response to that. Good response. Um, addressing things from the past.
In what context?
It's just addressing things from the past. It triggered things that bothered you from your past and somebody bringing them up.
Yeah, it's unresolved. If you ain't been able to process, you know what I'm saying? If especially if especially if what has been brought back from the past has been thrown at you out of malice, not out of good intention. It's like if it's not for the betterment of me, we ain't trying to resolve this stuff that happened in the past, yeah, it can be a trigger. It shouldn't be a trigger, but it can be a trigger, especially if it ain't been resolved, especially if you ain't been able to process it. You know what I'm saying? So it can be, unfortunately.
Internalizing.
um, I think that all depends on how strong uh, internalizing. Internalizing what? Emotions? Internalizing what?
Whatever you going too deep with, because when you internalize, that means you've been holding on and thinking all day about that same thing. So can something that's being internalized be a trigger?
Yeah.
Correct. Yes. That's on both.
Yes.
That's on human, not even just a
Yeah.
race right there. If I'm sitting up there walking around all day contemplating, thinking about something that done happened, I'm internalizing. I want to respond to it.
Yeah. At some point you're gonna blow up. I
Mm-hmm.
believe you can't. I think when you suppress stuff for too long, it shows in other actions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That may not be as healthy. So yeah, internalizing some shit can be a trigger.
Whew. Okay. Um. I don't like that one. Um. Physical lack of physicality.
Lack of physicality. Um, Lack of physicality, like a lack of physical touch, or what?
Like being able to, where you lack it, where you lack physicality.
Physicality. That no, I don't think that should be a trigger.
Okay. So, and I'm going to use an example for this. If your physicality, if your shape, if your underlying health and pressure, your exercise abilities lack you to be sexual, wouldn't lack of physicality be an issue?
Yeah, but would it be a trigger? Um, no, because not to me, because I believe unless you are in a state of mind or a state of being to where you can't work on some of this stuff, I think that's just something that you can work on.
Okay.
Um, yeah. Now as far as a man and what he is being blessed with God, like yeah, I guess that could be a trigger if he like again it's all about if he is securing himself. But I don't think it should be a trigger.
You don't, okay. Okay. So yes, those are my trigger, non-trigger things, and mostly everything that I said could be a trigger because it can be. That just pretty much means that a lot of things are able to get up under your skin.
Mm.
And you just have to have your what emotional control so you don't allow it to continue to do that. When you feel at even just this is just as a black person in general, and this and I'm sad to say I am one of those people who have to accept and understand that black people were born into a society where they already had things planned out for who they were before they even got here. So that means that you was gonna come here being either in the middle of the gene pool. You might not have a silver spoon, or you might. Just depends on how silver or how tarnished your spoon gonna be. You may have a chance, you may not have a chance. You come here with the preparation of society not loving who you are because of the color of your skin. Point blank, period.
Hmm.
We're born with that.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I am on a constant belief that we have to always be ready for what's going to come. So that means that we have to be in control of our emotions. We have to be. I don't care how long it takes you to get there. I don't care what it is that you got to do to get there. I believe that we have to be in that form of control because we're too easily triggered. Things can happen that show us right then how easily triggered we are. You see it online. You see that something happened in the way we respond instantaneously with our keyboards. You see how we respond with our mouth when we can't control how we need to at work. You see how we're easily triggered by somebody, and however, our responses cannot be the same as other races' responses. We have to be more careful. We have to always walk with that light foot, like we on eggshells. And because of that, we've learned to have that coat of armor on everywhere we go because we have to be shielded. Keep doing that. I didn't say all that for me to just say, take it off. Hold on to it because you're going to continue to need it. You're going to continue to have to walk with it. You're going to continue to be able to get to a point where all you got to do is get to your home and take it off. And B made some special comments earlier that said, as a reminder that we don't want to have to come to our house and still have to have that bravado energy. We want to be able to come in and feel free, feel vulnerable when we're with our person. And that's the reason why we have to heal. We don't have to heal because we have to be kind to other communities or we have to be able to maneuver in a world with kindness. We have to be healed because we have to protect and construct ways to protect one another. Your healing is going to protect your family. Your healing is going to save your family. Your healing is going to continue to save your life. Black men, because we need you, the opportunity for you to be better is on you and on us. So yes, don't be that woman that constantly in a man face about what you want him to be doing and what you don't want him to be doing. That little gentle reminder of love comes in other different facets, but it's not to be thrown in a face. You can be cooing with it, you can be loving with it, you can be touching, but you are not to harm your black man. And today I want to thank B for coming on because he always come to drop jewels and do his thing and give us a kind word. And before we gotta get out of here, I want B to tell y'all something. What's up, B? Close us out.
Yeah. So first of all, I appreciate another opportunity on being on the show. I think this is definitely good for the community in Tallahassee, but I think this is definitely good information um, for the communities nationwide because I believe during this time that we're in right now, I think the one thing that we lack, but the most important thing that we need right now is black love. You know what I'm saying? On some point, we need to be on one accord. I understand that. Sometimes we can't stop some of the disagreements that we may have amongst each other. But I think that we also need to recognize the time that we in and to recognize that, we need to be on one accord, one unspoken accord to know that, hey man, it's a war outside. And at the end of the day, you know, as history has always been, especially here in Florida, you know what I'm saying? Like, we understand that ultimately we got to come home and we got to be better and we got to be able to feel safe in our home and have our partners feel safe with us. So, for my black men, man, right now, I think we should take the time, the necessary time to do the proper healing, man, for the embetterment of you, but not only that, but the embetterment of the people around you. And really, once we get it together, everybody move to our tune, so it'll be for the embetterment of society. So, that's what I gotta say in regards to that. I think this was a great topic. It's probably is room for a part 2 or 3, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. I just appreciate, Shelby, you allowing me to, say my piece.
Anytime, B. And I want you to tell me what we're going to talk about next time you come to. I'm going to let you lead that one because I want to see what's on your mind. But thank y'all for tuning in and giving us y'all hour. We can't give it back to you because you stayed the whole time. So thank y'all. Much love and appreciation. Like I said, y'all heal yourselves now. Heal as a people, and so we can all heal together. Okay. Thank y'all again. See y'all next Wednesday. We got something funny going on next week, but see y'all next week, my people. I love y'all always. Peace.
Peace.
6:30 p.m. Eastern. Shelby's World Live taking off. Questions will be answered cause the queen get it off. Unity is for the black and brown community. Conversation without scrutiny. Hey, we speak from a place of power, no coward. We just making sure the truth isn't overpowered. Black goddess, black queen, no in between. Radio podcast to the big screen. Her smile is everything, can light up a room. She say what she means, that's why we're in tune. Grown woman handles her biz like it is. Discipline, her role model for the kids. Nothing was given, everything she earned. She sat back and learned, and now it's her turn. So stop on by, comment, subscribe. Each and every Wednesday, SW Live.